This episode is going to land very differently depending on where you're at. And it's mostly for people who are not in survival mode. If you're generally happy, but you'd just like to feel even happier, then this episode would be great for you to watch. For you to listen to even. I'm going to share with you, before I get to those points, just the reminders of how to get out of survival mode or how to feel better in the first place. Because you need to be feeling a little bit of joy in order to maximize it. And for those of you who are in survival mode, then this episode might not be one that you can act upon really effectively, but I hope that it serves as inspiration for you to come back to if you practice the things that I've shared on previous episodes, and then come back to, if once you're in a little bit of a better place, then this episode can inspire you to up your levels of joy even further. I am honestly the happiest I have ever been, and I've been in some really dark places, most notably the infertility journey that I was on with my husband a few years back. And I've been going running every Tuesday for the last few weeks, and I've lived in this town for 15 years, let's say. And so I've been on the seafront a lot, and this is where I run. And as I'm running, it's bizarre. It's like this gratitude movie that, or like, Sonic the Hedgehog, and while he's running he goes through like checkpoints. It's funny, like I'm running and I just have this really philosophical, grateful experience of just having flashpoints go through my mind as I'm running. One is me sitting on the beach shortly after a miscarriage, off long-term leave, compassionate leave from work. Another being in a house that we used to live on right on the seafront, way before any of the infertility started, and all sorts of different memories and checkpoints I was at along the seafront. And I just feel so grateful, because not only have I got the girls that we wanted so desperately, but I'm married to an amazing man, and we've got a dog. I always wanted a dog growing up. We've got a lovely house. We live in a lovely area. And to top it all off, I'm just doing a job that just lights me up. Like, I love what I do so much. My husband must get sick of me saying it. Just like every day I'll finish with a client and I come down and I'll be like, oh, I love my job. Or, even if I'm not even seeing clients, just doing this, like sharing my knowledge via this podcast, it just feels like such a blessing and such a joy to be able to do what I'm doing. And I just feel so blessed to have a career now that is making such a difference to other people's lives, but also lights me up too. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah. So I've said this a few times now, and the fact that you're only ever in your own head. And so on a few discovery calls I've been on recently, we talk about, a discovery call is basically when somebody's interested in potentially working with me, and we just do a free call to find out like more about them, where they're at, where they would like to be at, and whether my program would be right for them. And so recently, just a few times it's come up that we get to the end of the discussion on, okay, what would you like life to be like instead? What would you be doing if you felt, for example, that you had more energy and you were more positive and you were calmer and you just weren't overthinking all day, every day long? And, just the look on their faces, you can see that their physiology changes, because I'm getting them to tell me what would they like life to be like instead. And the physiology changes because as we're having thoughts, this is a subconscious thing, it's automatic. When we think something, the brain releases chemical reactions. So if we're thinking negative, sort of worst case scenario type thoughts, then your brain is going to be releasing stress hormones. Whereas if we're talking about amazing things, that like how their life would completely change if we could wave a magic wand, for example, then those are good thoughts. So you can see that they're excited about that, and it would be amazing. And several times people have said, oh, even if we could just have one of these things, it would be incredible. And so I want to share with you this episode, give you an idea of some of the things that I do habitually and just automatically now, which you might not have never ever thought to do. So before I get to the tips, I would like to just remind you of the things that you need to be doing that are going to generate more feel good chemicals in the brain. Okay, because we've got two parts of our brain, and this is not actually, it's not that you've got two parts in the brain. It's the way that I describe it. And I've been told time and time again that the way I describe things is relatable and understandable, and it's not off-putting with like sciencey jargon. So a lot of what I share is metaphorical, but it's very helpful in the sense that you can just get it. You get what's going on. You can operate your day from your intellectual mind, which is where your body is relaxed and you are in a good frame of mind. You can be present, you can be joyful, you can be positive, and that's basically the best place to be. The other part of your brain is what I call the primitive mind, and that is very negative. That's basically when you are operating in fight or flight mode, and it's basically your brain trying to do whatever it takes to keep you alive, because your brain is designed to survive only, and it doesn't care about your happiness. So, for example, somebody suffering with anxiety, they're going to have all sorts of coping mechanisms, such as the brain inducing a panic attack as a survival mechanism. And so all sorts of unhelpful things happen when we're operating in the primitive mind, or survival mode. And so you don't want to be in that place, not least because it's very bad for your health. Living life long term in the primitive brain is a chronic stressful state for your body. And so many of the illnesses and the diseases that people suffer with today are a result of chronic stress. So we don't want to be living our life in perpetual fight or flight mode. The caveman wasn't in fight or flight mode very often. It was literally just a mechanism that the brain could kick into if there was actually danger. But the thing is, now our brains, this fight or flight mode kicks in if we perceive danger. Okay. And there's so much more to say on this. I don't really want to go into it now because I know a lot of you are listening to every single episode and you will have heard this already. So if this is piquing your interest, I would urge you to go back to the episode that talks about I have a caveman brain, and your amazing subconscious mind would also be helpful. So back to what you actually need to do then to stay out of your primitive brain and live from your intellectual mind. And this is beneficial if you're not completely stuck in survival mode. If you are completely stuck in survival mode and want some help, feel free to book in a free connection call with me. The link is in the show notes. So these things that you need to do then, I categorize them as the 3 Ps. Okay, so it's easy to remember. So one of them is positive interaction, because when you interact with people, whether it's people you know or a shopkeeper, or even just your pet dog, your brain lights up with feel-good chemicals. And we are social beings. Cavemen were social beings, and we need this social interaction to feel good. Okay, it's a mood booster. All of these 3 Ps generate feel-good chemicals that lift you out of your primitive brain and into your intellectual mind, and they help you to keep your stress bucket levels low. Second one, positive actions. So this is basically doing things that you enjoy purely for enjoyment's sake. What lights you up? It's not about what's on your to-do list. Your brain needs feel-good chemicals to get the best out of your day and the best out of your life. Because if you don't get these feel-good chemicals, you end up in perpetual survival mode, and it's very stressful and very negative. And so, you need these chemicals. Self-care is not optional. We need it. It's got a term now called self-care, and it seems very trendy, and there's a misconception that self-care is selfish, but it's absolute BS. Our brain needs it. Whether you call it self-care or whether you just call it prioritizing yourself and going out and doing the things that you enjoy purely because you're important and your needs and your emotional needs are important, that is the be all and end all. You need these feel-good chemicals. So do more of what you enjoy. Make time for it. Life is not one big to-do list. Third one is positive mindset, okay? Because our brains can't tell the difference between real and imagination. And so if we're thinking negatively all the time, then we can easily be dropping down into our primitive brain, into fight or flight mode, purely because of the thoughts that we're having. If we're thinking worst case scenario thoughts and overthinking, remember that your brain is releasing chemical reactions just because of the things that you're thinking about. So if those things are good, you're going to be smiling and feeling good. You're going to be releasing feel-good chemicals. But if those things that you're thinking are bad and scary and negative and on all of that, then your brain is going to be releasing stress hormones, and it's really not good for you. So really look at trying to curb the negativity of your thoughts, be more positive, shift that balance. And if this particular point is resonating for you, I would urge you, if you've not listened to it yet, after this, go to listen to the episode on how to boost your mood away from negativity, because that talks all about this and how you can limit what goes in your stress bucket just by doing things to stop that sort of negative spiral in your mind. And so once you have got it sort of clear in your mind that the 3Ps generate feel-good chemicals that will lift you out of your primitive brain and into your intellectual mind, where you can be happy and where you can be more patient and calm and positive and focused and clear-headed, all of the good stuff, then you might be at a point where you're like, okay, I'm happy, things are okay, yeah, it's fine. But I would really like to up the levels of joy that I feel in my life. And maybe you're watching me like on stories on Instagram, and you're seeing that I really am happy. And yeah, not every day is easy because I've got 3-year-old twins, and seriously, they can be hard work sometimes. But my general default mode is genuine happiness, and I'm able to be present. I rarely worry. I don't worry about the past or the future, and I'm living the overwhelming majority of my life in my intellectual mind. And if I find that I dip in my primitive brain, then I know what to do straight away to get out of it. And so a lot of this is down to the things that I do automatically to increase my levels of joy, because joy equals lots of big bursts of feel-good chemicals in the brain, and that's going to keep me out of my primitive brain. So I'd love to share these tips with you. Number one, think back to what you enjoyed as a child, because you are the same person in terms of your being. The things that you loved back then, it's very likely that you still love now. And I'll invite you to drop any judgment around this. It really doesn't matter what is cool, what is perceived cool, because that is a load of bullshit. That's um, society's general cultural message of what is cool and what is not. Who cares? It's your life, and it's about you and what you enjoy. So do more of it. Okay. For me, recently I've like reconnected to the piano. I've had a piano in the house. Well, I've had a piano since I was a child. I learned it, had lessons when I was younger, and it was actually one of the things that helped me cope during the infertility journey. Like, I chose to have a focus, and I chose to train. I don't know if that's the right word for, but I chose to prepare for my grade 5 exam, and that was a big challenge. I had to put in hours and hours of practice, and I didn't know about any of this is way before I even considered hypnotherapy as a career, but so I didn't know about any of this primitive brain intellectual mind stuff. But it did really help me, because it helped me to generate feel-good chemicals every time I was playing the piano. My mind was in the moment, not worrying about any of my struggles or anything. So yeah, I've just recently reconnected to that, and I've literally been playing the piano virtually every day, and I'm making time for it, and I love it. It's something that brings me joy. And so what do you love to do that maybe you've not done for years and years and years? When can you next find the time? When can you create time and create space to reconnect to something that you used to love? Because that will bring you so much joy, and help you forget the world and forget your worries, and give you lots of feel-good chemicals in your brain, which they need. Next one, more connection. Okay, so a lot of us, I'm guilty of this as well. We can be too focused on what's going on virtually. Okay, so for example, like checking my DMs or whatever on Instagram, whereas there's a time and a place for that. And actually, sometimes it's good to put your phone down and really truly connect with the people around you. Now, this could be in terms of your family, your kids, your colleagues. It could be just when you go into the petrol station and you're buying fuel and you really make eye contact with the person that you're buying off of and genuinely wish them a really good day. Or, if you're out for a walk, it's try and make eye contact and have a little conversation, maybe if you feel confident enough to, because that connection, whether it's with people that you know or don't know, doesn't matter. You'll be getting feel good chemicals in your brain. Third one even, is about assessing your own routines, because 95% of what we do is ruled by the subconscious mind. And just because you've done something every single day for the past 15 years doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best thing for you. And so here's an invitation for you to assess the routines that you have or the things that you do habitually and look at it from a perspective of, is this serving me? Is this making me the happiest that I could be in the moment? For example, one of those could be waking up and just reaching for your phone. And originally that might have been to look at the time, but then your brain wants a quick bit of dopamine. So you go onto social media or whatever. But actually, if that's something that is hardwired, here's an opportunity to assess that routine and think, is that the best thing for me? Definitely not. Because you might have curated your social media feed to be all positive and all inspiring, but do we really want to look at a screen and social media the first thing that we do? It's up to you. That could just be one of the things that you're questioning. But assessing your routines and looking at the things that you do habitually might not even be a routine. It might just be the way that you do something. And just look at it from a point of curiosity. What do you do quite often that just doesn't serve you anymore? And what could you replace it with to help you feel happier or more joyful or more connected or more confident? Whatever it is, but just having a curiosity about the things that you do habitually that are hardwired, and just shaking that up and see if you can bring more the power of music. And I came across this, or I knew about it because all of the brain links memories to feelings all the time. Okay, so this is why a smell can really take you back to a particular time in your life, or a song can really take you back to a particular time in your life. But when I first connected to this point that I'm about to share with you, it was from a very negative, sad perspective, and then I flipped it and made it work for me. So what I'm getting at here is, when I was sort of really stuck in the infertility journey and, really, really struggling, holding down a teaching job, which is not easy anyway, but whilst trying to manage injecting myself and then, miscarriages and all sorts of disappointment and basically really, really hard stuff, I was listening to an album at the time by the 1975, and I loved it. Like, I really loved it. I would get lost in the music on the way home from work on a good day. But then the girls came along, and any time that I hear songs by the 1975 now, it just transports me back to that feeling of just desperate sadness. And that I could do something about that. If I chose to take the time, I could rewire that in my brain so that I would love the 1975 again. It doesn't really particularly bother me because I like other music too. But I realized this, and I thought, well, if your brain is doing that in a negative way, then obviously you've got the power to turn that around and really utilize this knowledge in a positive way. So this has really helped me to lock in any real positive feelings that I feel. So genuine happiness then, I've realized recently, I have a song for it, like pure love and just that absolute joy of, this is the best I'm feeling in my life ever, and I'm so grateful for that. There's a song called Sunset Lover, which I kind of questioned, why does this song make me feel so like warm inside? And then I realized it's because I've made a reel to it that has like a montage of like footage of my girls and like family photos and stuff. And there's another one that I did maybe last year, I think, where they're walking through bluebell fields and it's the same song. And so my subconscious connection with that song is one of absolute love my life feelings. And so every time I feel that now, I feel that. So I listen to it a lot. And you can do this with any feeling. Okay, let's say that you have a bit of good news, or you've done something really well and you're really proud of yourself. Choose a moment when you feel really good, whether it's really confident or really excited or really happy or whatever. When you feel though that higher level of joy or higher level of positive feeling, you can lock it in with a song. Choose a song that kind of resonates with you in that feeling and play it right when you're feeling it, and choose that song to be your confidence song or your joy song. And then your brain will program that in whilst you're feeling that. It's like, when I felt that feeling, I listened to that song. So then next time you hear that, you're gonna feel that release of those chemicals. Might be very subtle to start with, but if you close your eyes and you lean into it and really feel it, then you can up the levels of joy or confidence or whatever the feeling is you're working with. And another sort of thing that's connected to this is the hypnotherapy audio that I share with you for free. A lot of you probably have downloaded it already. If not, and you want it, it's in the show notes, by the way. But that starts with, like, I talk over music. And once you've listened to that a few times and you've gone to sleep to it, then your brain knows it connects the feeling of relaxing and going to sleep with the first few bars of the music that you hear. And so when your brain hears that, it knows to relax and start to unwind and be ready to drift off to sleep. It's just the brain doing this automatically on a subconscious level. We're programmed to feel a certain way when things happen. So you can take control of that and manage that and implement new ones. When you're feeling great, play a song. Choose that song to be your feeling great song and play it whenever you want to boost. End of. It's just incredible. Like, so these are some of the things that I do day in, day out. And it's not the reason I'm the happiest I've ever been. The reason I'm the happiest I've ever been is because I've got the dream in, like, I'm a mum. I waited years to be a mum, and I love my life, and I love the career that I'm doing and all the rest of it. But certainly practicing what I preach in these episodes, doing all the things that I share with my clients, doing that myself, and just really leaning into what brings me joy on a daily basis helps me to increase those levels of joy and feel happier and happier. And I know that I'm a firm believer in this because it's in my own hypnosis audio, and I make sure that I add it in all of my clients' ones as well. And that is the belief that the better it gets, the better it gets. So that is a belief that I have on a subconscious level. And so my subconscious brain is looking out for that. The better it gets, the better it gets. And it is truly amazing. So I really hope that everything I've shared with you here has been useful to you, and that you've managed to find a takeaway from today, something that you're going to implement. And I would love to hear back from you what you found most inspiring or most useful, or any feedback, basically. I love to hear from you. I love to get your messages over on Instagram at Believe and Achieve with Jenna, or wherever you find me. You can connect with me in various ways in the show notes. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I will speak to you all next week. My mission with this podcast and why I started it was to serve. And so I really hope that everything I've shared with you today and in previous episodes is serving you and helping you to change your life. It requires consistent action. It requires effort. But if you're willing to put in the work, then you can absolutely change a great deal just by listening to me and implementing my advice. However, if you're listening and you would like to work with me, then obviously I work too. I do solution-focused hypnotherapy and much more. And my program is called Change Your Life. And it's a program that I'm really proud of. So if you're interested in this and would like some more information about how it works and whether it would be right for you, then do get in touch with me via the information in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share it with a friend or stick it up on stories on Instagram and tag me at Believe and Achieve with Jenna. See you next week.